We got to just jump right into it,
Let's
as you
go,
say.
yeah, just get it.
And to me, the biggest story is, because it can piss you off and make you happy at the same time, federal judge orders deportation flights carrying suspected Venezuelan gang members back to the U.S. And Zeke, just as I was headed over here today, I saw I think they had Judge Napolitano on Newsmax and some other guys. And what seems to be the little tricky situation about it, if the planes already took off and were headed back, and then the judge did the order, then
So I don't understand what happened there. So they're saying that it was a violation of procedural law or something, the way that he deported him?
the judge said that they shouldn't have been deported. They didn't have like all the rights or something. And forgive me because I don't know every specific
Now, was this the
detail.
leftist judge that they were complaining about?
Evidently, it was a judge appointed by Barack Obama.
It's that one same judge that they've been having problems with, I think.
Most likely,
Yeah.
it is.
So,
But the one judge said that I was listening to said, if the judge ordered that before the plane took off, then they should have waited and not let the plane take off. But if it was afterwards, then it was within their right to go ahead and have the plane go back. The tricky part, he said, is it's when it was officially filed. So that could be where there's some back and forth on that.
Okay.
But either way, I mean, here, to me, this is justice trying to be done and some interference by a federal judge. But, with Trump in office, with President Trump in office, we learned so much, don't we?
yeah, why are you so anti us getting, and these are like from my understanding, that plane was full of like some of the most violent criminals and a couple of the Tren de Agua leaders and a couple other Mexican gang leaders, I think, too. Like some really bad dudes are on this plane. It's like, why would you want to stop that? Why wouldn't you want to get them out of this country? That's, you know that they're trying to do something ominous when they're defending some of the world's worst people. Scum of the earth kind of things.
Now, they did have someone probably representing the Democrats or the left, and their thought was, well, these people, they're still entitled to their constitutional rights. And someone said, well, they're not American citizens, so they aren't. However, there could be an argument made for our Constitution. These are our rights allowed to everyone. But still, as you say, if they were illegally, see, to me, if you're illegally in our country, then we can deport you. Because you know what? You're not supposed to be here. And if you're doing bad stuff, that makes it even worse.
And it makes it easier for us, spiritually. But look at any other country. You try to sneak into any other country. Okay, let's say you try to sneak into Dubai or any other Middle Eastern country. You know what they're going to do to your ass? You ain't getting no fair trial. You ain't getting nothing. I mean, you're lucky to come through America because you're going to get treated humanely. We do follow Geneva Conventions. We are a humane society. We're very generous people. You come over here legally. We understand. Biden told you to come over here. That was a complete farce. Biden is illegal. He's just an illegal person.
Well, extremely. And now, of course, they're talking about how his auto pen wasn't even him personally signing executive orders and all these things, which could null and void so many things that he did. Mm-hmm. Do you know where all that is standing? Have they found proof of that?
Well, they're trying to decide, because the main reason why it came up was because Biden signed on some really horrible executive orders that destroyed farmland. Like, I think one of the main things was that with the lockdowns, a lot of the farmers and ranchers had to sign over a lot of their land to the government because of the pandemic and stuff. So that's kind of where this is all coming about. And the biggest argument, the dumbest argument I've seen, I don't mean to say it's dumb, but
you can say it's dumb.
Well, people are saying, well, who cares? All presidents do, signature stamps and auto signs and this and that. I'm like, do I have to really be that specific? Look, how long has Biden been in office? 30-something years? He's got 3 different signatures as president that don't match any of the signatures that he's had for the past 30 years in office. None of these 3 don't match any of the signatures that the signature that he used. So it's an obvious fraud. It's obvious. So they're trying to decide on how to handle it because, okay, is this whole presidency a farce, or do we just go executive order by executive order? Legally, his presidency is completely null and void, to my understanding at the outset. But of course, they're going to try to articulate a way to, because imagine that, guys. His whole last 4 years just didn't happen. Like, it's almost better if we just say, you know what, let's just move on.
And even the argument can be made that he didn't have full capacity to actually be in charge. And the fact that there were 3 different, I mean, look at President Donald Trump's signature.
Yeah.
It's like perfection, and you'll see him signing it.
Yep.
It's like it's a beautiful
Yeah,
signature.
they zoom in on it.
It
Yep.
really is. And but he always gets it like almost perfect all the time.
Yep.
You know, because not even like me when I sign, you know, you can tell it's my signature, but it's always just there's little things that sometimes end up different depending on the surface or whatever. But this is a big deal. This really is a big
It's not
deal.
even close. It's not even close. There's 3 different versions of it. I know that there's one of the main one that they're really questioning because this is the one that was used to sign like on the most hardcore stuff, like the pardons and stuff, and some of the executive. There's an underline. He never underlined his name in the past, but on some of the signatures in his presidency, there's an underline. So that's
Wow.
you know, it's pretty freaking
Well,
bad.
remember, I know we talked about this on the show, and you know, if you follow Jeff Prather and other podcasts,
Yep.
it may not have been an imposter. So maybe the imposter did sign, but if that wasn't, you know, that's one
That's a
thing.
good point.
And this is where I'm so big on. I really believe that our education system, you must learn cursive. You must, because you've got to have your individual signature. You know, so printing, you can have it individual. It's just not the same. So, I mean,
It's pretty cool when
It's
you think
crazy.
about how they can verify who you are with a signature because, okay, you use the auto sign or the stamp or whatever, but on the really important documents, you've got to make sure that that's that conscious human being signing it. That's what, you know, you can determine the signature by what angle that they're coming at it. You know, there's so many little markers. It's literally like a fingerprint, your signature.
It
It's
is.
freaking cool. So yeah, learn freaking cursive. I used to like learning cursive because I had a really hard time learning it, but once I learned it, I enjoy writing cursive. It's actually kind of fun.
and I have to make this statement because it impressed me so much. And I just learned this last year. Liz Winterroad, our good friend Liz.
Yeah.
What's her position with the county?
She's the first vice chair.
First vice chair. And thank you, Liz, for doing that. But she was a teacher, as you know. And we talked about that when we interviewed her as a candidate. And she told me that actually if you're dyslexic, that it's better for the child to learn cursive before printing because it helps their brain. You know, the flow of
That's
things.
badass.
And I said, wow, I had never heard that. Because to me, if I want to write something and get it out, I like to write in cursive better. Printing's just very kind of sterile. And now you do it so people maybe, you know, understand it more correctly.
Right.
Some people have a hard time writing cursive. I mean,
Yeah.
understanding cursive.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I enjoy it.
But you can read, like if I wrote you a note in cursive, you
I can
read
read it. Oh yeah, I
right?
can read it. I mean, try reading the Declaration of Independence in cursive
Yeah,
or the
that's
Constitution.
Even a whole different style, you know, but still. But you can still read it.
But just think about how much pride they had, because in the Enlightenment age is when they actually started letting people interpret the Bible on their own. People were actually learning how to read and write on their own volition, and it was just a whole new era of knowledge and wisdom, and just the pride. Because you know, all of the founding fathers were badass literaries. You know, they were such
Yes.
amazing philosophers and just scientists and just Renaissance men.
Very educated.
Very educated literaries, true literaries, and they took pride in it. You know, it's almost kind of like, oh, like these days, if you're good at writing or you're into English, the language, it's like you're kind of a sissy. It's like, no, it's badass to be able to. The best leaders in the world are the best communicators, and in their day, you couldn't even mess around running for office or nothing if you couldn't write. It's not even a question.
And a lot of people couldn't write. They were illiterate.
That's right.
Also.
That's right. So that's
That's
why they
just how
took
it was.
pride in that. That's why they took pride. And I still take pride in my literary prowess. I work very hard on my writing and very hard on being able to communicate messages effectively. And so when I come across, you know, someone that's trying to run for office, especially a high office, that has a hard time writing a paragraph without a run-on sentence, I'm like, you might want to think about not running for office quite yet, you know, because it's demanding. You got to be a very good communicator, and if you can't write, to me, it's an affront to the founding fathers and the founding foundations of this country. We took pride in the English language, and we mastered the English language as Americans, and I think that tradition should continue.
And education is power. Do we know where things stand as far as the Department of Education? Have you heard the latest
That's a
on
great
that?
point. That's a great. You know, for sure, Trump wants to get rid of it. He's working on getting rid of it as soon as possible. He said that publicly, I think, like 10 days ago, a week ago. He's like, we're getting rid of it, and he said it before he got in office too. The problem is they've got to run it through Congress, and he does have control of Congress. So I think it's going to happen, but it probably won't fully go through till this summer.
Yeah, I bet you're right. The gal who is in charge of it, and I'm trying to remember her name, and I can't remember her name. Do you?
She's the Department of Education girl.
Right.
Forget her.
And kind of, well, what her deal is, and I think if I didn't hear her say it, somebody else did. Really, she's going to work herself out of the job. Now there could be standards. Like I wouldn't mind if you had, because one thing that we used to do, and did they still have the basic skills tests when you were in school? We used to have them every year. They would do it nationally.
It's a miracle that you even remember.
you know.
'Cause I don't remember.
Iowa basic skills. And then you had, they tested you in all the different areas, and you do the little dots where you fill it in. And then they'd rate you, the fifth graders in New Mexico compared to the fifth graders in California and stuff like that. And originally, that's the Department of Education, good intentions. Good intentions at the beginning, then gets
I don't
all
know
out of
about the
whack.
good intentions thing.
Gets
I don't
all out of
know.
whack.
I think
But
they fooled the public into the fact that they might have good intentions, but I don't think they had good intentions themselves.
Well, it was to, I think, be able to nationally, see where everybody else was.
It was so easy for them to do
But,
it, right? Yeah.
it's not needed anymore. It's not needed in this day and age. And it was established after I was out of school. I think in 1979
That's
is
why
when it started.
that's why you're so much more
76.
awesome than everyone else, huh?
Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?
Well, to me, the Department of Education is just a lot like communism. It's like, dude, we've given you like 30, 40 years. It doesn't work. In fact, it made us way, way worse. I mean, as soon as the Department of Education got instilled into our society, we started plummeting. We were one of the top world performers in all aspects of education. But as soon as the Department of Education got involved, plummeted. And it's just getting worse even now. They're in school all day. Homeschoolers go to school half the day, if not quarter of the day, and the homeschoolers perform better than these kids who are at public school all day. What are they teaching these kids? We know what they're teaching these kids. Promoting having sex with their coaches if they're in sports. I mean, we see all these crazy books that
Porn
they're,
books,
porn
porno
books.
books,
They're not learning math. They're not learning reading. And there's a whole slew of students coming out now that are like whistleblowers that are like, supposedly they get scholarships and they get 4.0, all these accolades, and they're like, dude, I can't even do math. I can't even read. Did you see that?
It's an injustice.
There was a girl who graduated from high school recently, and she made a big deal of it. She's like, I got all these accolades for my education prowess, and I still can't read or write. And so
That's where the school system should never have elevated. You just, that's the whole thing. You don't go to the next grade until you've established that mark, and then you can pass.
when I was growing up, I had several friends that got held back.
They had like summer school, remember?
Yeah, they
elementary school,
made you go to summer school. I had to go to summer school too to graduate high school because I graduated with 1.1. My generation was the beginning of this whole thing because I didn't even show up to school. I shouldn't have graduated. Thank God they pushed me through. And I joined the military. But see, my poor education really came to bite me in the butt when I was in the military because I had a learning disability that I didn't know about yet. So I had a really hard time getting, and I was in a nuclear world. So like they were testing the hell out of us.
So they didn't recognize your disability while you were in
I did okay
school?
on the ASVAB. I did okay. I scored actually pretty high on it. But when it came to like learning something new, because I was already really pretty good at math and electrical stuff because of my father. My dad's an electrical engineer. But when it came to like learning law enforcement, like I was a cop and other nuclear stuff, I scored one of the lowest the base I'd ever seen on several tests. They almost kicked me out. My test scores were so poor. But before they kicked me out, they gave Sergeant Brooks, they tasked him to me. Because before they kick you out, they want to make sure they're making the right decision. He went over some basic learning things, flashcards, and I just had to learn how to learn. Then I became one of the top performers on the base. Actually, I was in top 3 performers on the base after I got a hold of Sergeant Brooks. So, yeah, I mean, everybody learns different. That's why this education's so important. If you're dyslexic, there's different ways that we got to go about getting you up to speed. Writing cursive, other things. But dyslexic people are some of the most effective people I've ever worked with in business. They're some of the most awesome people. I had a learning disability too. Doesn't mean that I'm not capable. It just means that this education system that we have, the Department of Education, is just not doing its job. And I know it's weird for New Mexico. It's like, well, we're going to get rid of the Department of Education and let's go to the states. But our state sucks. And that's
Yeah.
why we hope Trump starts arresting people right away.
There's good and bad about that.
Right.
Wonder. You run into so many people. There's so many people here, and they have their kids. They have them in private schools. I just was talking to somebody the other day, and their grandkids, they go to, I think they go to Holy Cross. And I'm like, thank you. I thank them because, they're educated. They're going to be properly educated, and you just can't trust the public schools anymore to do that. It's very sad. Now, I'm not saying there aren't good teachers. I bet there are some very good teachers out there, and I applaud you for trying to do a good job. But within this system, and our state of New Mexico is number 51, right? Aren't we 51?
Well, they're going to get rid of Puerto Rico too. That's news,
Oh, they're
Yeah, they're not going to be part of America anymore. Well, because they take part in all of our benefits, but they don't. Basically, it's better for us to cut them loose.
Well, they're a territory right now, but I hadn't heard.
They have their own legal system.
Rid of them.
They have their own little form of government.
Remember, the Democrats were always pushing for them to be a state.
Well, because they wanted them to be a state, so that way they can put so they can get Democrat senators out of that new district.
Exactly, the votes.
But now they're saying we're going to get rid of It's going to happen. Puerto Rico is no longer going to be part of America, like at all.
And you think that's a good? And so, would you keep them as a territory? I mean,
I didn't study it enough to really speak too much. I just know
this
that
is the first I heard of it. That's why I'm
from
asking questions.
from my understanding, they don't utilize our laws and they don't really promote our values, and we give them a lot of money.
Wow.
And it's just it's kind of a headache from what I understand. There's really no value in us having them
I'm
as
gonna
a
have to watch that. Thanks for
territory.
mentioning that.
Yeah, but so once they get rid of Puerto Rico, we will definitively be the worst educated state,
It'll be the worst.
hands down.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, so as bad as I'm saying Puerto Rico is, they have a better education system than New Mexico.
My God, well, you parents out there, I mean, get involved and find out what's going on in your schools. Please do. Like, there's so many things. I know you're busy, you're working, you have to do that, but you know your kids, and it's just not fair that they don't have a proper education. And you know what else? Okay, just I'm kind of going on a departure thing, but
You go
because
ahead.
you're such a good source of information. So in New Mexico, if you are a resident of New Mexico and you graduate from a public high school, then you get, and I can't remember what the grade point average you have to have, but you can go to a public university, right?
Yeah,
Pay the tuition.
The Crimson Scholar, yeah. I think it's called Crimson Scholar. No, Crimson Scholar is when you're in college. I think as long as you keep over a 3.0. It's the lottery scholarship. If you have over a 3.0 from public school, you can get the lottery scholarship where they pay your tuition. That's what I was when I was in school. Of course, I was in school like 10 years ago.
So you have to graduate with that.
Graduate with a 3.0.
Okay.
It might be 3.5, but I'm pretty sure it's because I remember thinking 3.0 is pretty low bar, even though I only had a 1.7, but yeah, it's 3.0.
4 point would be the like the A, right? And
Yeah, 4.0 is for
3.0
all
B.
A's. 3.0 is like mostly A's. And then the Crimson Scholar in NMSU is 3.5 and above.
okay.
And Crimson Scholar is pretty awesome too. Hey, look, I like education, but I know that what they're teaching these kids now is not very effective. There's really no value to it. And look at like that poor girl I was talking about earlier. She got all these accolades from graduating high school, got a full scholarship to some prestigious university. She's like, hey, I can't even freaking read. And it's like, what are they doing when they get to college? So they indoctrinate you in public school to normalize sex and everything. Then they get you in a university where they indoctrinate you with far left Marxist ideology. And then before you know it, you got a whole field of people burning Tesla stations down. And that's what they did. They found out a lot of those people on Antifa who are burning these Tesla stations down are college professors and college students.
Wow.
Yeah, and lawyers and doctors.
And do you have to take? I just saw on Facebook the other day somebody said that you don't have to take the SAT test to get into college. Did you?
The
have to do
SAT,
that?
I think they're trying to get rid of that. They made the LSAT really easy too. They got rid of the hardest part of the law school acceptance test, the logical reasoning, which is very difficult. I was getting ready to take the LSAT, and the logical reasoning is super, super difficult. That's where most people get weeded out. Mm-hmm. You can't be dumb. I'm sorry, you got to have high IQ. Like it's like you basically got to like play like arithmetic guessing games. It's pretty cool. But anyway, so they're just dumbing lawyers down even more, so they can indoctrinate more, right? They took over the medical system, Rockefeller. When they had to sell Standard Oil, they went and bought all the medical school boards, so they took over the doctors. That's why these doctors and lawyers and students and college professors are on the far left of things, because they're getting indoctrinated. Straight up, guys. Like, we got to fix the university. That's why Trump's so easy to pull funding from these colleges, too, because they're being used as a weapon against these communities.
And I applaud that. The recent one with Columbia University was almost $500 million.
Do you know more about that? What happened with that?
Heck?
What happened with that?
Shame on me, but it was, I think, $400,000 they were going to pull.
No.
And I would need to follow up. There's just so
But
much
what did that
going on.
student do? Was that he was inciting violence, I think, right?
They weren't taking care of that problem.
Yeah.
They had so many violent disturbances that was happening, and there's another person. What's the name of the guy? And they're trying to deport them, and they're saying no, you can't deport him.
Yeah.
But yet, if you are here, you're not even a citizen, and you are going to a public university that tax dollars are paying for. It's a privilege for you to be here, and if you can't handle it, and you've got to be violent, and you need to be out. You need to you can't be.
Yeah, to my understanding, there were pro-Palestinian violent insiders.
If you want to protest all you want, but
Yeah,
you
but you
can't be violent
can't.
about it.
Yeah, you can be promoting violence, guys. That's the thing. Is, or
I
they
don't
can
like them protesting personally, but
they
if
can
wanna
say
do
whatever
it,
they want. I'm like, no, they
can do it.
can't. You've never been able to incite violence with free speech. Never. That's like one of the main things. Like, you can say whatever you want, but the instant you start telling people to kill other people, start telling people to hurt other people, that's no longer free speech, man. That's a crime.
Well, and just like you were saying, go back to the Tesla and everything that's going on there. My
Not good.
God.
Not good at all.
You know, if I can understand, people are turning like this Trump derangement syndrome. It's Tesla derangement syndrome. Here, Mr. Elon Musk is out there. He didn't have to be doing this stuff, man. This dude's the richest guy in the world. Why? He could just be sitting back and doing whatever he wants to with his money. You know, unlike Soros, who's kind of the antithesis of that. And they're going after his vehicles, and all of a sudden, all these people are, oh yeah, this is because a Tesla's all electric, right? It isn't a hybrid. All of a sudden, oh, Evo man, we have to, violence again, violence, and our party, thank Lord, for the most part. I'm not saying nobody does it, but for the most part, we're not known for that, but they are.
They'll always say, oh, Jan 6, like, you know what? They found a bunch of FBI agents and CIA agents inside. They were the ones who were inciting violence there. It wasn't us. We've always been the party of peace, you know, straight up. Even Alex Jones is out there on his mic telling everybody, don't go inside the Capitol. Whatever you do, don't instill. Every episode, Alex Jones is like, look, if we get violent, we lose the war. This is not it's an information war. It has nothing to do with violence. It's the last thing you do. It makes everybody look bad. You'll end up in jail, and it gives them more incentive to be harsher on us. We've always been anti-violence. But here these guys are burning freaking Tesla stations, literal acts of terrorism, and still no biggie. No biggie. You still don't hear anybody say anything bad about that. It's ridiculous. I'm sick of this upside down stuff. I'm so glad that Trump got in.
It is just so wrong, absolutely. But speaking of Alex Jones, too, what's the latest on, is it Mr. White that was killed?
Yeah, Jamie White, they're pretty pissed off. You know, they're still very upset. I know Trump had, and Kash Patel had allocated a specific team.
For those of you, just a reminder, this was a journalist who worked with Alex Jones, right?
Alex Jones' top journalist, Jamie White. He was the main guy. He was their number one journalist for exposing the fraud of Ukraine and George Soros and just all the corruption that's been going on in Ukraine. He did some amazing work, but they killed him. You know, they followed him home from work, and they shot him in the throat, and he bled out. He bled out into all his blood, but he still lived even 20 minutes after they shot him. They got him to the hospital. By that time they got him on the gurney, or they got him at the hospital, he was pronounced dead.
And they don't know who did it. They haven't found anybody.
You know, Alex Jones is blaming the district attorney because the district attorney is a far left Soros-backed type of guy. He lets murderers out with no bail. So initially, Alex Jones was blaming them, but it came out later that that guy, Jamie White, and a lot of other guys, including Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Elon Musk, are on this Ukrainian hit list. And they've all been getting attacked. They've all been getting swatted. Did you hear about that?
Wow. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been swatted.
People all over the country begin swatted. And it's attempted murder, guys, because if you don't understand how swatting works, they'll imitate you, a guy, say you have a wife and kids, and they'll say, hey, I'm about to kill my wife, kill my daughter. You better get here now. You know, so that activates a certain type of criminal response from these law enforcement officers. Typically, what's happened in the past is they'll end up shooting the person even though they're innocent because these cops are on alert, and they're like, what's going on? Luckily, these cops are big followers of Alex Jones, big followers of Chase Geyser, and so they eventually stop going because they get these SWAT calls so much often with Alex Jones and their guys. But there's other guys around the country who are like me and you, just trying to do free speech news, and they're getting swatted even.
In fact, didn't the guy's last name I think is Farash, and he does an impersonation.
Yeah,
of Trump,
he did.
And he was on the news. He
got swatted.
You could tell they were talking to him, and he was freaked out about it. Who would blame him for doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, God, because he has a podcast. He's very politically conservative.
Yeah.
But his biggest thing is the entertainment factor that he does Trump entertainment. You know, he does a very good impression of President Trump. Scary. I mean, my God, this is America, guys. What the heck's going on?
We're getting rid of all the bad stuff, but it's
going to take a while.
It's going to be a while.
It
Everything
really
else is looking pretty good, though. I mean, we got Dan Bongino in there today.
Oh, that's right.
Congratulations,
Started today,
Mr. Bongino.
Oh, well, I loved him on the mic, so we'll miss him from there. But he's going to do a fantastic job, I think.
Can't get anyone better. And he's gonna. Kash Patel needs the help. I mean, there's so much corruption, guys. We can get into that too next, unless you had anything else. But we can start talking about corruption.
We can. We've got some great guys. I want to mention real quick. I don't want us to forget, since we're kind of talking about Tesla and Elon. But tomorrow, I believe the astronauts are coming home.
Oh man,
That's so cool, isn't it? That is so cool. Did you see where when they docked? The guy has a joke dressed up like an alien. Did you see that?
No.
That was pretty dang funny.
Really?
But this is so cool. Biden couldn't do it. He didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it.
You know, couldn't, didn't, whatever.
How evil is that?
There's just so many things. When you go back and really start, if you've been paying attention to politics, just take a few minutes at some point during this week, okay? And think about all those things, because so much is happening. And kudos to President Trump and all his team and all you wonderful podcasters out there and people that follow the podcast too, who want to be informed. I love that. But just think about all the damage that the Biden administration did, or people that were doing it for him. And keep praying to God that we just keep correcting it. And right is right. Justice, man. Justice.
I'm still waiting for someone to say the Democrat Party. They won't pivot. They won't adapt at all.
And their ratings.
They're just they got even lower. I talked about the last episode how they're lower than low. They're even lower than they were last week.
And these are like the NBC polls. They're not just far right wing. You know, it's not Newsmax saying it and stuff like that.
No.
And you know those polls, even as bad as they show the Democrats, are probably worse. They probably are worse.
I don't know. I don't get how people are still hanging on to that. You know, it's like, dude, these guys, and it's going to get worse. I mean, the amount of corruption that the Democrat Party has been involved with, and for the length of time, man, and I know for a fact, here in Las Cruces, these people have been doing some horrible, shady, corrupt stuff for a long time. They have been highway robbery, stealing from us for a long time. I know for a fact. It's a matter of time before someone gets in there and starts investigating them for all their fraud.
And that's kind of, you know, as I talk to people, you know, I've been back, it's going to be almost 3 years in May, but I still feel like I'm learning. I'm still learning the culture out here. And it seems to me more and more, it's an accepted thing. People know that. And it's not like a surprise when you hear about cheating and corruption.
Well,
and you were telling me a story about some judges. Did you want to talk about that or save that?
No, we can talk about it now. We can talk about it.
Because it's very, very
It's going to be on the news this week, so it's,
is it really?
we'll beat the news. Yeah.
And just before you go to that, because that's kind of going into the state part of our program.
Yeah.
But I also want to mention that I heard the French want their Statue of Liberty. It's I can't remember who the official said that. It was, we like, because they're saying that the immigration policy is not what it should be. That was the criticism. But I believe right before I came in to do the show, I think it was Pam Bondi who said, no, I don't think so. And just to remind you the history, as you all know, the French gave us that wonderful, beautiful Statue of Liberty, and that's about the time of in the 1800s, I think. And it's because we were welcoming a lot of people from Europe and other places through Ellis Island. And it's very symbolic, and it's still, America is, everybody wants to come to America. They still do, no matter what. And that was very evident during the Biden administration when they just let everybody in. But I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that's definitely worth mentioning. I mean, here's the thing is, look at France. So here's the problem with immigration, guys. And I've said this before. France, for instance, they started to let in Muslim immigrants years ago, I think over a decade ago. And what they found is, even after 5 years, 75 to 80% of them are still on welfare and don't have jobs. Wow. But they start having more kids. So here you have a population of Muslims that's taking up more than 10% of their local population anymore. And that's a big problem, because if they're all living off welfare, they're all not working, and they're all having kids, and all these areas where they're living is where all the crime is, a lot of rape. I mean, I just saw a video the other day where this Muslim guy pushed this blonde lady down the stairs at a subway. They got it on film, just shoved her down the stairs.
Gosh.
Yeah, and they deported him, surprisingly. I didn't think France would do that. But yeah, for no reason, just random act of violence, just shoves this girl down the stairs, tried to kill her, but she survived.
My gosh.
And so, yeah, the immigrants of today are not like they were back then. Back then, everybody came here ready to freaking work, bro. They were ready to go to town, and they did. And the people, I still take pride in the fact that my heritage came with the braceros. They worked the farms with World War II, and that's how we got our right here, because we got here from working. Mm-hmm. Now these guys get here to get a check and to vote Democrat, and that's it. And that's not right, guys. I don't care who you are. That is not right. We want the best. We want people who are ready to come here to assimilate and work.
It really isn't. And this is maybe, probably 20 years ago, a good friend of mine back in Phoenix. She was from England, okay? And she went back to visit. She was an American citizen. She became naturalized. But she went back to visit her brother. And she said, you wouldn't believe how there really aren't that many English people there anymore.
No,
because,
there's not.
Like you say, the Muslims had invaded, all the other countries had come in, and it's a whole different culture and change, and it's not good. If it were for the good, okay, fine. But everything that you said, I think it's probably point on.
Yeah, it's right there. I mean, because who is it? Andrew Tate. He's running for Prime Minister of England now, and he talks about that. It's like it's not even England anymore. It's not the England I grew up with. There's not even hardly any British people there anymore. They're all leaving. All the people with money are leaving England because the laws are so crazy there, guys. Like it's a horrible place to live. Europe's a
Have
terrible
you been
place.
to England?
No, I
Did
didn't
you
get a chance to go to England. I went all over like Italian area, Germany and up in north, down south
Which
Italy.
was still probably pretty European. You could identify it as Italian.
Well, when I was there
Italian
in Italy,
spoken.
there was a big Muslim problem. There a lot of, and I'm just being honest. You can be offended if you want. I don't care. I'm being honest.
And this is what?
This is when this is back in 2005, 2007. I was there for 2 years, and a lot of the times the locals they didn't like me for two reasons. For one, because when they found out I was American, they heard my English. They hated Bush, and you'd always hear him say "F Bush, F Bush" everywhere you go. Number two, because I look kind of I look Middle Eastern, like Turkish. I look kind of Turkish. And they had a really big problem with Turkish people being in Italy and raping girls and stabbing girls and robbery. So they associated me with immigrant violence because that's how it goes. If you just let people in your borders, they start committing violent crimes, just like we're experiencing here in America. So I experienced a different kind of racism when I was in Italy. It was one, because they didn't like me because I looked Turkish. And number two, if I started speaking really good English, they're like, oh, God. So I got kicked out of many clubs. I didn't get let into a lot of clubs, straight up.
That is wild.
Straight up, we're not lying at all. And you guys know Sergeant Dixon. Who else is there? Sergeant Sanger.
Did you ever try to mess with them and start kind of talking with an accent? If you could do that accent, I can't.
No, I couldn't do it.
You didn't drink too much and get messed up.
We would get hammered. We'd get in fight with Albanians and stuff. But hey, look, the illegal immigration is not good. They're trying to get rid of us. They're bringing them in to replace us. They give them all the rights. Like here in New Mexico, they just gave illegal immigrants more gun rights than they're giving us. So I don't fully understand the gist of the bill, but to my understand, that if you're a legal immigrant, you can have a concealed carry license now or something like that.
I remember reading about that. Now, is it still in process? It hasn't passed.
Apparently, it's about to go through. I don't know, but just to let the people know that this is the kind of stuff that the Democrats are into right now, where they're doing legislation that favors illegal immigrants over American citizens, New Mexicans, and that's just where we're at. That's what the Democrat Party represents their voter base. Who is their voter base? We know now. Illegal immigrants. That's their voter base.
And if you've followed the Chips and Salsa show from when we started doing it 10 years ago in Arizona, I remember being on a show. It was a women's show, and they were talking. I was talking about the fact that I was a Latina, Hispanic, whatever you want to call me, and I'm Republican. But we made mention of that because it was such a slap in the face. I had friends that they've been years trying to be naturalized, paying attorneys, doing all the right things, but yet somebody else could just walk across. And we would mention that it was because they wanted the voters. And they did a better job than Republicans, I have to admit it, the Democrats. We'd go to the naturalization ceremonies, and they're right there with the table to sign them up and register as Democrats. They wouldn't even, they would tell me, people would tell me, they wouldn't even give them a choice, they'd sign them as Democrats. We did that a few times when we were active, and if they wanted, whatever they wanted to register, we weren't going to force them to do that. But it was just so unfair. But we've been yelling about that for a very long time, but we didn't do it loud enough, I think, or it wasn't covered too, because even back then the mainstream media wasn't ready to do that. But one good thing about New Mexico state law that did not pass, you saw that the family medical leave.
That didn't go through. Thank God.
That's a good thing.
Did that give you some hope?
It really does. It really does.
It was such a bad bill.
So it failed, in the Finance Committee,
In the Finance Committee,
right?
that's right, yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Well, we
Yeah,
were pushing pretty hard. I mean, I put it out there. I did a couple videos myself, and they did pretty well on social media, really. I mean, especially for New Mexico. I think people understand now, or getting a better understanding, they're not doing things that are in our interest. They're doing things that attack our infrastructure. They're doing things that favor illegal immigrants because that's their voter base. That's the gist of the message that I'm trying to say here today. You guys need to wake up and understand what's going on here. If you're a Democrat and you're in New Mexico and you still think that these people represent you, then why do you still have horrible education? Why is there still a horrible economy? Why is the crime still getting worse by the day? They don't represent you as a Democrat, and that's why I'm asking you to leave the party. Go independent. I don't care. Go independent. Just get out of the Democrat Party.
At least go independent. And so my husband made this great point. You probably have thought of this already, but he was saying the more Democrats that are registered, they use that, and really it could help them if for cheating purposes. So I think if you're a Democrat, and you probably know you really aren't because of what the Democratic Party stands for now. Like Zeke says, at least go independent. I mean, I would love for you to be a Republican. If you want to go to the GOP website or contact us and the tenets of the Republican Party. I'm willing to bet you probably agree with most of them over what the Democrat Party is doing now. I'm not saying I'm perfect, okay? Republican Party is not perfection. We aren't. But we are a little better than the Democrat Party. And it would mean so much because I believe Doña Ana County, I just saw the last little chart that I had, we're about 27% are registered Republican. And then there's more independents, and of course the Democrats are more like 40%. But if we could just change those numbers by 5% or so, that says a lot. And I know I've talked about it, beaten like a dead horse, but there's so many Democrats we talk to, and they're as conservative. Some are even more conservative than me, but they don't want to register Republican. But so go independent, please try it. It's better for all things.
Yeah, and if you want to be a badass savage that helps the American spirit live on beyond your lifetime, and you want to hang around heroes, you want to register Republican. That's what you want to do there.
Well, we've been doing a lot of good stuff.
We have been doing a lot of good stuff, and we're getting better. We're definitely not the perfect party, and we are in New Mexico, the worst state in the country, and we do have the worst Republican Party in the country. It's getting better now, as of late, thanks to Chairman Barela, excuse me. But for a very long time, there was no Republican presence here. It doesn't surprise me that we only have, what was it, 27% or 37%?
I saw Doña Ana County about 27%.
It doesn't surprise me that we only have 27%. And that's very sad because we had a Republican congressman in office for a very long time. And that individual had a lot of time to build the Republican Party here in Doña Ana. We were the biggest county in that district. And that just was nowhere ever to be found. There was no leadership here for a very long time. And it's a shame because this is a very conservative community. Agriculture, business, the immigrants here are very conservative people. Those people, when they're getting sworn in, that are naturalized, eventually they're going to vote conservative because I know immigrants or legal naturalized citizens, they're more American than most Americans. They're more grateful than anyone else.
They're stronger Americans. And they're more versed in the Constitution typically. They understand.
True.
And they usually have come from a country that they don't have the freedom. That's why they're here. They want the freedom. They want to make a good living and provide for their families. It's an excellent point.
And that's why they wanted to get them right there, nip it at the butt, try to brainwash them right away. Because just naturally, if you're getting naturalized and you open a little hot dog stand, or you open a little tortilla shop or a taquito shop or whatever, bro, you're going to become conservative because you're going to have to deal with crime. You want your kids to have a good education. And you want the economy to be thriving because you own a freaking business or you work for a local business. Even if you work for a local business, that's a lot of pride in that. It helps the community so much just to work for someone that owns a business locally. So we want people to come here and work. It's not like we don't, hey man, it's a land of opportunity, but you got to work for the opportunity. You got to earn it just like we did. You can't just be getting no handouts. That makes you soft.
Absolutely. It's not good for your character. And kudos also, though, to our local county Republican Party here. Doña Ana County, Zeke's second vice chair.
Yep.
We just mentioned the first vice chair, Liz Winterroad, and our chairwoman is Janice Williams. And it's a very strong leadership team. And we just have a new treasurer too, Mr. Gray.
Charles Gray. That's right, yeah.
Also, who am I leaving out? Did I leave anybody
So
out?
it's Chairman Williams, second vice chair Winterroad, second vice chair me, Secretary Anne Marie Donovan, and then we got the treasurer, Mr. Charles Gray. Great team. I was spending a lot of time there on Friday with Chairman Williams. We have a lot of really cool stuff getting planned up. We're going to be doing some dances. We're going to be doing some other contests, fun stuff to get people to come together, some more outreach. So we're going to be doing a lot of really fun stuff this summer, guys. Can't wait to do it.
And if you live in the area and within Doña Ana County, stop by the headquarters. We have a headquarters. It used to be the old Yvette Harrell headquarters over here. I always say it's by Getz Funeral Home, but it really is. It's on Salado, and you can find it. You've got great signage out there, so you cannot miss the office. Come by, say hi. If you would like to volunteer and help, they still need people to kind of woman and man the phones and stuff.
So I heard a tasty rumor.
Oh, yeah?
Real tasty rumor.
Oh, I got it.
Let's get into it before we go anywhere else.
Okay, let's do it. We're talking New Mexico and Doña Ana
Big
County.
time New Mexico. And so people were online, shout out to Audrey Trujillo, and they were asking, who do you think is going to be the next gubernatorial candidate?
Ooh, I want to hear.
And there was some speculation that it's going to be Yvette Harrell. Yvette Harrell is going to run for governor.
Really?
And John Sanchez is going to run for lieutenant governor.
That would be a great
something
team.
like that. Something like that.
That'd be a great team. What do you think? What do you
I think it'd be great. I would love Yvette to win. It makes the most logical sense because she has the most name recognition out of anyone else in this state. Everybody knows that she's been in the legislature forever. I love Yvette. Everybody knows I'm a fanboy for Yvette. You know, I
But,
gush over her.
we had talked about that, I think, a while back, but
I hope she does
you
it.
know, we haven't heard too much from her, and maybe that's why.
I hope she does it. I'm praying to God. If Yvette runs for governor, it's going to be New Mexico's going to be changed forever, guaranteed. Because she is.
I think she could win.
Yeah. Well, look, she
I
won
think she could win.
against Sochi. They cheated that one by 4,000 votes. They had to cheat by. She ran again and dominated that, even though she was out earned and outspent. And then she lost. She lost to. She lost that next time around,
Yeah,
but it wasn't much. Trump wasn't
Like
even running.
a few thousand votes.
I don't even think it was a few thousand. I think it was closer than that. And then all of a sudden, when Trump's running, which is the best time to run for any freaking Republican, she loses by 10,000 votes.
11,000.
Get out of here, bro. I
Now,
don't.
that was just not believable.
That's not
I'm sorry.
believable. It's not. So with a fair election, Yvette Herrell for damn sure wins. For damn sure.
And who did you say would be the lieutenant?
I don't know.
governor?
That's. I think. I don't know if they were saying that John Sanchez was going to run for lieutenant governor under Yvette Herrell, or they were both going to run for governor. I mean, that's a dumb race for John Sanchez because. I think. I mean, Hispanic males poll really well, but Yvette Herrell is awesome. I got Yvette Herrell all day. I'll support her campaign 110.
She's a local gal. She's been in New Mexico all her life, right? And she served in Congress.
True New Mexican, yep.
We've interviewed her. She's smart. You know, we can call her friend because we know her. She's closer to you.
Yeah, I've
of
known her for
course.
years, yeah.
And I just think that's exciting. So I love that rumor.
We'll
So
see.
you're
I
able
mean,
to see-
I hope it's true. I really do because I don't like any of the other candidates that come up so far. I just don't. Like, she's so solid.
And you need somebody with some very good campaign experience.
And that's her all day, you know.
Yeah.
And I think she's got it in her. I pray to God that's her that wins. If not, you know, I'll reach out to her soon and I'll confirm with you guys. But I thought that was a juicy rumor that we might want to talk about.
You know what I like about that is, remember, I always tell you my mom's saying was, no hay mal no que bien no venga. So, okay, so she lost the last election, and there's questions about that. But maybe that happened for a reason. Maybe that happened so she can run for governor.
I think that'd be the best thing to do.
And
dude.
it'd be fun and get that started, have her on the show, and
And
support the heck out of her. That's so funny because today I still have my Yvette Herrell bumper sticker in the
Keep
back
that
of my
on
car.
there.
I'm okay, and I thought, should I take that off? I thought, nah, I like it on there.
Keep it.
So I'm going to keep that on there until we know for sure.
I could have texted her, reached out to her, and verified, but it's such a cool rumor. I wanted to say it before anything because I just hope it puts it in the ether that it does happen. I really, really want her to run for governor. I think it's a genius idea. She has the momentum. She knows where to get the money. She's already proven herself to be a true patriot when she gets in office with her voting record. I mean, I can go on and on about her. There's no one else. Who else has better recognition?
There are no negatives that I can see. What would be the negatives?
The fact
about
that Hispanic males poll so well, but she's got to find a Hispanic male to run lieutenant governor. That makes up for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and I think because everyone knows Yvette so well, I don't think that's going to be a factor. You know, her name, face recognition is unparalleled. There's no one else even close to Yvette Herrell in the state, in the whole state, that has her type of recognition.
But she's a fine human being. She gets along very well with people. She's a real person. She's got in that, like Trump.
Down to earth,
Just
straight
very
shooter.
down to earth and comfortable around people. She loves people. You can tell since the first time I met her.
She really cares.
I hope that comes.
I
We're
hope so,
going to
too.
follow that for you. And if you
Yeah.
have any information for us, please.
Yeah,
Shoot
I'll
it to us.
find out. I hope it's the case. I'm going to be disappointed if it's not because I just don't like any other candidates so far. But anyway,
Wow.
so what are we looking at time wise?
Okay, so it's we're thinking about the battery. We've been doing this show for about 40 minutes.
Oh, we're
Actually,
good.
45.
Just keep going.
Just keep going? Okay, a few more minutes. Okay, good deal. Well, so we're still on New Mexico, and I put down here, the Opinion Post reported there was a New Mexico arrest. They arrested 48 violent criminal aliens. I just had the headline on that,
Thank God.
but man, and I haven't heard too much about because our governor, MLG, okay, Michelle Lujan Grisham, is always talking about how, well, we're not going to cooperate with the federal people and all this stuff. Well, I'm sorry, but you have an obligation to protect your state. And why you want to protect, first of all, you are a criminal if you're illegally residing in our state, okay? But there are worse, and it's even worse if you're doing bad things or more serious criminal acts, we'll say. But that's the first thing that she's thinking of is protecting them. instead of what? The people who put her in office or the people I didn't vote for her, but she still represents all of us. She represents all of us New Mexicans. And
Yeah, I can't stand her.
you know, I'm so glad that this is going to be her last term. So what I did print out, so John Block, he had his legislative update, and there's a bunch of stuff that he talked about. What is the bill that is
I
coming?
know they're working their butts off over there in the legislature right
Because
now.
they only have they have about a couple weeks left? That they're
60
supposed
days
to-
almost up, yeah.
Can they extend that? Do you know how all that
No, they'll
works?
do an emergency short session if they need more time.
I mean, they've got all
I don't think they
kinds-
extend. I don't know if they extend. It's a good question.
all kinds of bills going. I'm trying to think. What about the one about medical reform?
Yeah,
for
I'm gonna start.
doctors?
I'm gonna start hitting that hard this week. I'll put out some more content from here, and I'll do some more content too. You know, it's pretty straightforward. I talked about it before, but the lawyers are out of control here, guys. The lawyers are predatorily coaxing patients who had maybe gone through some negative anomalies at the hospital and pushing them to file for lawsuits that they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But they get a cut from the settlement because usually these things don't even go to trial. The doctors will just settle out of court. So they get a cut of the settlement, you know, and they've found a lot of these lawsuits being frivolous. But basically, the doctors have to pay exorbitant premiums relative to the area. I mean, Texas pays like 4 times less than we do for their insurance premiums for
That's why
liability.
they're leaving our state. They can't afford it.
And they can't afford it, and they're not
Malpractice.
protected at all. These lawyers and these judges do whatever they want, and we're gonna get into that here soon too. And they just screws over our community. We don't have any doctors, and then so we got to make it safer for the doctors, make it harder for them to get sued. Look, if you've been hurt by a doctor, it happens. We're human beings. We should definitely get you taken care of. Make sure your medical bills are good, and make sure you're in a good spot financially. I get that, but this is beyond that. This is exploiting our system, our criminal justice system, because it's a farce, and the doctors don't want to be here. So if we make it safer for them, we can then offer reciprocity, which means that if you're licensed in any other state in the country, you can come here and practice medicine. So that is what South Dakota did, and they had a huge influx of doctors. They don't have a medical problem anymore. So we have a lot of work to do here in New Mexico, but basically we got to control the lawyers, control the judges, and we got to offer reciprocity, and that solves our medical problem. Very commonsensical, very straightforward. I've done a lot of research on this. I've been doing medical business for a long time. And these lawyers basically run this state, and it's not good because lawyers around here have obviously been proving themselves to be very corrupt. It's hard to find a good lawyer. It's hard to find a Republican lawyer, for one. And number two, the judges are out of control. I can't wait to get into that here shortly, but go ahead.
And we are going to get into that. And remember, for the last show, we gave you kind of a list of all the money and who received the money. And and what was it? It was the trial lawyers.
It was the
That's
Trial
right.
Lawyers Association. That's who makes the most freaking money.
There's a couple of bills that I'll highlight here. So one was John Block's talking about. Oh, excuse me. Is it John Block or Jay Block? John Block, yes. Okay. HB 14, Democrats passed this extremist bill to hike taxes on oil and gas to pay for an earned income tax credit. Representative Mark Duncan used one of my previous bills to tax renewables to offer a floor substitute to make big renewables companies that ship power out of state pay for it. I debated in support of the amendment, but it died on a party line vote. I voted against the extreme anti-energy bill, and the other one, HB 518. So evidently, he says, a terrible bill to create a new state holiday called LGBTQ plus Day passed through the chamber. It would create an unnecessary holiday while enshrining radical ideology into state statute. And obviously he voted no on that. And I wanted to see if there was any other one. So he said, this week ahead, the last one is expected to be another insane one. I pray lots of bad bills die a swift death, either in the House or Senate, this week before time runs out. So there is, if you just go and check him out. So Representative John Block, he is House District 51 from Otero County.
He's
That's
gay, by the way.
yeah.
And he voted against it.
Very good point. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't mention that.
Republicans actually love gay people. Like I'm surrounded by gay people, and I get along with them really well, and they're pretty damn conservative. It has nothing to do with being gay. There's no correlation with being gay and LGBTQ plus community. It's a completely different thing, in my opinion.
And I know gay Republicans who are extremely conservative. They're hardcore Republicans.
I do too.
And speaking, I just want to mention this real quick, and then I do want to get into that judge story. But when I was doing the show in Arizona, my good friend Preston Romero, I used to call him the millennial muchacho because he's a millennial. Well, he lives in California now. He happens to be gay. He's a log cabin Republican guy. And we had a short conversation because they just had, I think I told you about this, I can't remember. They just had their big state convention or whatever where they elect the officers, and he was going to have a big party he was doing it. But he said, he goes, New Mexico, he says, New Mexico needs to just look at California, because pretty much if New Mexico doesn't take care of things, they'll turn into California, and that will happen. And you know how messed up that is, and that's like a whole other show talking about that. But we've got to spend the rest of our show time talking about, oh my gosh, I couldn't even believe it when you told me about this, because it's so incredible. It's like, I can't believe it, but yes, I can, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and then real quick on your comment about California, I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, the reality is, guys, and where everyone's going to see, if you don't see it yet, that this ship is it's a leaking ship. Society is very fragile. We have to be professional, and we have to be responsible, and we have to work really, really hard to keep this ship a-going, all right? And so we get, soft times, create soft people, whatever that saying is. You know what it is. But it just comes to a point where we just can't let things slip anymore. There's no one at the helm. And that's what happened in California. And that's what happened to our country. Is like we got so comfortable, we weren't being professional, we weren't being responsible, we weren't working hard to preserve our freedoms. And it is hard work. It does take sacrifice. I ain't gonna lie. You guys see this front end of it with the podcast and stuff and cool, like social media. But behind the scenes, Alice has been getting signatures all weekend, right? You were getting signatures all weekend. And, we all do so much in our circle. All of us do so, and it's cool because we can see who's not working. That's a good thing about being a hard worker. It's really easy to see the slackers.
By the way, just you mentioned that, so when this show, I believe I'm going to turn my signatures in tomorrow, and this is about the zoning in Las Cruces. And the whole thing about it is that I keep telling people, sign this petition, because what we'll do is if we get all the signatures we need, it'll go on the ballot in November. And that way, Las Cruces can vote on it. What's very interesting to me, Zeke, is how many people do not live in the city limits of Las Cruces. And I think maybe that correlates a little bit of why. Because our city council, oh my gosh, it's just so far left. But please, if you haven't signed it, you're a registered voter in Las Cruces, do whatever you can. Contact me. I'll come and chase the thing, or go to Metalcraft. I realize, by the time you see this, it may already be over, we'll see, but go to Metalcraft, which is on Picacho, and you can sign the petition from 9 to 5 there, and appreciate it. You just have to be a registered voter living in the city of Las Cruces. Judge story coming up next. Oh my God, be prepared to be blown away,
This
buddy.
is a big one. This is a big one, and I'm actually pretty honored to be the one breaking this story. I might end up getting shot up by Tren de Agua, but
We need
whatever.
like, boop, 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 boop.
It's going to come out in the news anyway, and it's like, hey, it's up to you guys to interpret it. I'm not saying anything or saying anyone's guilty or whatever, but this is public record. This is what happened. I have direct information and knowledge from the top of the food chain about this specific situation. So, if you've been paying attention, about 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, they had arrested some potentially Tren de Agua gang members for gun charges, because you can't be an illegal immigrant having guns. And there was some other potential violent charges as well for these individuals.
And that was here in New Mexico?
No, I believe it was in Carlsbad.
Okay.
But those individuals were living in an apartment complex that was owned by a locally elected Democrat judge. And it was Judge Joel Cano. And he had just went to trial on Friday under the district federal judge, Martinez. And basically, Judge Martinez said he knows who Judge Cano is. He's personal friends with him, essentially, is what he said. And he's going to basically let him off on these. So the Tren de Agua guys were arrested for terrorism charges, okay? Gang affiliation, gun charges, those terrorism charges. Political. Trump deemed these guys
Trump
political
called them
terrorists.
Terrorists, right, yeah.
Terrorists. And Judge Cano, to my understanding, at first had said, well, he didn't know they were illegals, and eventually he admitted, and this is all on record, he eventually admitted that, okay, he was helping them get their legal status. And he's now being indicted potentially,
So,
2
seconds.
for terrorism
I gotta
as well.
interrupt you.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
gotta interrupt you. So this is a judge who is helping these guys get their status. It's almost like already I see a conflict of interest. Even if he didn't, he claims he didn't know they were Tren de Agua.
Then he said he was helping them,
whatever.
and that they were working for him. So he broke the law in a lot of ways.
Wow.
A
Okay.
lot
Sorry
of
to
ways.
interrupt you, but I just had to
No,
get that straight in my head.
great question. So, despite all that being on the evidence, and they have pictures of him with these Tren de Agua guys holding guns, and they're throwing up gang signs, and they got video of him as well. So it's just like open, close, shut stuff here, guys. A freaking elected judge, locally elected judge. And I know he had been reported to the bar for a lot of other shady stuff too. That I know from a lawyer locally.
So he already had a reputation.
So he's already got a reputation, and he's a former cop as well. He's a former police officer.
Man.
You know, and
Where is he from originally?
I don't know from. I know he was a police officer here in Las Cruces for a long time before he became a judge. So, you know, if the judges are in on this kind of stuff, guys, and what it is too is like, I don't know what's going on with him, but that's just the facts of the case. You can interpret that however you want. You can look it up yourself. It's all public record. But I do know in other states, they've found Democrat state representatives, Democrat state senators, Democrat elected officials engaging, and Democrat congresswomen engaging in basically human trafficking, getting a cut from the welfare benefits from the people that they get over. And it's a kind of a whole system. And just like they caught, you know, Democrat officials nationwide ballot or you know, doing absentee ballots with illegal immigrants as well. In Texas, they raided a bunch of offices that were Democrat elected officials and had illegals in there fraudulently filling out absentee ballots. So it's a ring, guys. It's basically racketeering. It's basically RICO laws, and that's why I tell you guys, if you're a Democrat still, you don't want to be affiliating with those people anymore. You don't. They're in on it. They get it. And if they're not, they're enabling it. You know, if you're in office and you're voting for these horrible policies that nobody wants, and all of a sudden you want to come out and be a Republican, like, bro, that's tough because you've been enabling them for so long. And I think by the end of this, the Democrat Party is going to be more smeared than the Nazi Party. When the truth really comes out, they've been doing things worse than the Nazis. I mean, think about it. The lockdowns, how unnecessary were they? That was a Democrat Party initiative, fully.
The biggest thing is that cut into freedom. And that's what we're all about, okay? If America, it's nothing without our freedom. And, this story just blows my mind.
It's mind-blowing.
It blows my mind.
And
this is one, like we always say, Zeke, right? This is one we found out about. We know about it for sure. How much other stuff is out there we don't know about? When do you think our news media is going to actually cover it?
This week it's supposed to be out. I got word from some top-level news people over the weekend that it should be coming out this week on a lot of different platforms, you know, because there's a couple of us that know, but I didn't want to be the guy that broke it necessarily because, like, you know, I am not suicidal. I love life. I have a lot to live for. You know, but it's going to come out either way.
Well, like you say, it is public record. It really is. And the journalists, somebody's got to cover it.
Somebody's got to cover it, Brooke. I mean, because we have so much reach here. I'll post it on social media too. But look, guys, the Democrat Party is super corrupt. Our elections have been horrible at best. You know, and our city's falling apart. It's nothing like what we grew up with here. This city has so much more potential. It's been sabotaged on purpose. The stack zoning that they're trying to push through, that's so that we can follow through with the UN's Green New Deal, and Trump's getting rid of all that. So these guys are like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like you cut the head off of a snake and the body keeps squirming, you know, or you pop the head off of a chicken and it keeps running around the yard. That's kind of what the New Mexico Democrat Party is right now. They're just like literally a chicken with a head. They're just doing crazy stuff right now.
And they have no leadership. I just saw something too.
No.
They talked about, I think they had AOC up there, Barack Obama, and AOC had like a
Losers.
10%. Oh, also Bernie Sanders.
Loser.
10% said, oh yeah, that could be our leader. This is the Democrat Party they were polling. And Bernie Sanders was like at 7%, and Barack Obama was 4%. I mean, that's the support that they would
Losers.
get as leaders. They don't, you know, and typically what should happen is the head leader should be their last elected Democrat president, who would be Biden. But, you know, where in the heck's Biden? Or even, Kamala was on there too. Kamala had less than AOC. She was like at 8 or 9%.
She's always been super unpopular. They try to prop her up like as if people like her. Nobody's ever liked that woman. She's probably the least popular Democrat official at the top. I mean, her numbers are like at 1% before she ran for president.
And again, this was an NBC poll, so you know it was
It's
probably
skewed.
worse.
Well, yeah, when Tulsi Gabbard had hammered her, remember that? She was polling at 1% at that time.
Wow.
Kamala Harris was polling at 1%. She's not likable. I mean, she put weed dealers in jail for like very long period. When you start putting nonviolent criminals in jail for long periods of time, the people don't like that stuff. You know, and she wasn't giving death penalties to guys who were obviously murdering cops. Did you see about that? And she was giving death penalties to people who were found innocent later.
I just never understood. I mean, the whole thing about her was race, and I hate to say this, but being a woman. I think they just really thought, oh, this is our winner.
Oh,
This is our winner.
you know, one cool thing I
Horrible
saw, I don't know where they dug this up from. Maybe it was AI, but she was basically saying, well, we need to get rid of the machines. We need to get rid of these absentee ballots. We need to get hand count ballots. She's like, it helps. It helps.
Oh, do you think that was real?
It had to have been. I think it was real footage, and she was.
I would know.
It was back in the day. She was talking clearly too. Oddly enough, it was back in her days as district attorney, I believe, or attorney general in California, I believe.
I bet because how many times you go back, Clinton, all of those guys. Oh, illegal immigration is bad. Barack Obama, illegal immigration is bad, and
Yep.
then all of a sudden, no, turn around.
Yeah,
Whatever
now they
suits
flip.
them.
Now they flip. So I don't know. It's just look. There's a lot of big problems in the city. If this Judge Joel Cano ends up, getting indicted and found guilty and stuff, that's just going to tell everybody, look, this corruption here is super bad, and we're going to get rid of the Department of Education. This school board here that just does whatever they want and they ruin our children's future. We got to get rid of these people, guys. I mean, this community can be so much. The university pumps out smart people. I'm from there. She's from there. My dad's from there. Really,
Aggies.
we're Aggies, and if we actually had an economy and laws that are favorable to like getting our state to the top, there is enough local talent here to get us there.
And they would stay here too. Used to be, back in my day, old lady here, people would stay here. They come here a lot of times too if they were out of state, and their families would come here to live as well. And we need to return to that. This is still it's a state of so much potential. It's worth fighting for. It really is.
We need to get those laws. We need to get a handle on our city councils, man. We got some announcements coming up on that soon too. We'll have some guests on for that.
Do we have anybody we can announce yet officially? Probably not,
No,
huh?
next week.
We gotta wait.
I can
Next
announce them
week?
next week. Yeah, I can.
Oh,
I can
that's
announce
exciting.
3 city councilmen next week.
That's exciting.
One of them we already talked about, Ronnie Cisneros.
Yeah,
But
Ronnie,
I can announce 2 more next week. So
good. 'Cause
you know-
we've got 3. So that's for all 3 then? All 3
yeah, all
districts?
3 seats for city council. Now we need city council men or women. Please, someone step up to the plate because they are horrible. The county commissioners are even worse.
Yeah, and
They're-
that's not this year, right? That's like
Nah, next. I think
year.
there's one up this year, or maybe is it? I think there's one up
I
this
think
year.
yeah, I think you're right.
There's only like
Right.
one, and it's the district that's out there by.
'Cause it isn't mine. Is it?
I think it's out there by Chaparral or Santa Teresa. It's in that area. So it's Doña Ana County proper. So look, love you guys. Thank you guys. Happy St. Patty's Day to Alice. I like the festiveness.
Oh, won this at DACFRW, Doña Ana County Federated Republican Women, which we're going to be speaking there
So
not
too, yeah.
this week, but next week.
We will be there next week. I thought it was this week.
I think it's next week.
Next week?
I hope I had the date right. Yeah.
Okay. I messed up the dates for the
I did
Lincoln
it
Reagan
correct.
dinner in Albuquerque. I thought it was this weekend. It's actually next weekend with John Sanchez. And that was my dad's birthday too. Happy birthday to you,
Happy
Pops.
birthday, Mr. Rodriguez.
He's his birthday is St. Patty's Day, so it's always funny. We always, have a tradition
And
of
happy
drinking green beer.
Saints Day to all the Patricks and Patsies
Yeah, what's going on
and
with that?
Patricias out there. My sister is Patsy. A good friend of the show is Patrick Garcia, good conservative. So I hope you have a good one. If you know
Patty's
any-
Days. I didn't wear any green.
I wore green for both of us. Dun, da, da.
I have green on my mind. I have green on my mind. I got money on my mind. So yeah, hope you guys have a great, splendid rest of your day. This is the show for now. We'll be back on Monday. I'll be firing out some clips from the show very soon. I'll get this posted on YouTube. We're now on YouTube, Rumble, and X. I posted the last episode on all 3 of those platforms. We will be dumping YouTube as a primary source of uploads now because there's a mass exodus of YouTube coming up.
Yeah, that's the trend, right? That's
Yeah,
the trend.
Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, a couple other really big names.
We've gotten in trouble, badge of honor.
We've caught them
kicked off.
censoring our views, and they've kicked us off, and we didn't even have that much followers yet. So we're going to be going on pretty much focusing solely on Rumble here. We're going to upload to everything, but we're going to start promoting Rumble. I want to buy a little Rumble thing too.
Oh, cool.
So check us out on Rumble if you haven't yet. We are there. We are on X as well. If you guys have any ideas, you guys want to come on the show, give us a holler. We got 3 microphones. We'll be having a guest on within 2 weeks, right?
Actually, Monday. we're gonna
Monday?
have
We got a
Jerry-
guest on
Jerry
Monday.
Kincaid.
Yes, we will
About
have
the
the studio ready by Monday to have our 3rd guest on board, and we're looking forward to that.
That's going to be great, good.
And,
one more
what
thing,
else?
40 Days for Life is still on. So Wednesday morning, that's when I go pray at 10 a.m. And if you still want to do it, you can still sign up to do it, and pray to end abortion. I think that's it. You could take us out in prayer. Unless
Yeah.
there's something else you can think of.
No, I have really bad hair today, but let's do this.
That's you should be wearing my hat now.
Lord Jesus, thank you so much for all of the blessings that you've given us here today to be able to share your truth and your message with our local community. And we pray that we can persevere through these dark times that our city and our state are going through, Lord. And I pray that soldiers of God, soldiers of America with peace can step up to the plate and run for these offices that is so important. And we pray that you protect those law enforcement, ladies and gentlemen that are fighting for truth and for righteousness in our communities, these law enforcement individuals, Border Patrol, that are taking down these corrupt bad guys. They are in a lot of danger. Truth seekers are in a lot of danger, and I pray that you protect them, Lord. And just we pray that you stay with us through these tough times, Lord. And again, thank you for all the blessings, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray.
Nicely done. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Chipster, Chief Stedos.
Thank you, guys.
Terceros.
Quick hour. See you guys later.
Bye-bye. Have a good one. Keep fighting for justice, man.